every dream that he'd ever had, you know, had come true. Maybe not with the players that he would have liked, but nevertheless, it was. That's what I think about Sir Matt Busby and the day.
I'm very, very proud as a Manchester lad to have been involved in it. I'm very proud for what it means to the club, for what it means to the whole city of Manchester. But as far as looking back goes, I look back with pleasure, not with longing. It's something I'm very, very happy with.
I think everybody was. I think everybody knew, you know, particularly for Matt's sake as well, that it was the European Cup and this was going to be his last chance ever of winning it.
I think everybody wanted to win for the boss. I think it was his final more than the players.
It makes me laugh when I read about, you know, fallen idol and fallen superstars when they talk about me, because stuff like that, I mean, that's something they can't take away. They'll always be there.
I always felt it was a part of the history of the club, and it wasn't like something that one would really enjoy actually doing. One felt that it was part of the history, and I was so delighted after the game we won, not because we won, but because if we lost, it would have been absolutely terrible.
But I did feel that there was an inner feeling, I don't know what it was, but I felt that we were going to win this match and nothing would stop us from winning it.
When he was in the team, it was produce or else. That was the good thing. And I think he was apprentice, but hopefully he come out a tradesman. And that's the mentality the senior players gave you. It was okay, you're a young boy, but you're not in football terms. You're doing a man's job. And it was expected of you, and there was no quarter given. It was get on with it.
The tension wasn't there. We were just glad we were playing in a European Cup final. It was at Wembley, and you know, that was great. So it was just a normal bunch of very happy lads going to play in a final.
Everything was concentrated on the game, so there was no nerves or anything like that. We had to go out and do it, and of course do it for Sir Matt as well.
The boss's instructions were as usual. You know, the boss's instructions would go out and attack, and that was it. And if you can get one, go and get two, and if you can get two, go and get three.
They were all enjoying themselves down in London. I was in hospital in Manchester in pain, suffering pain badly.
Now, 25 years later, those same players set out once more from Old Trafford to relive the night when Manchester United emerged from the shadow of a savage catastrophe.
Munich airport, and wreckage that tells the story of the dreadful disaster. The house, about 300 yards beyond the end of the runway, struck by the doomed aircraft. Here, 21 out of the 44 people aboard lost their lives when it crashed. As the news of the disaster became known, Britain was appalled. Among the fatalities were 7 members of the famous Manchester United team. Only the day before, they'd met Red Star in Belgrade in their European Cup tie. United had been quick to take the lead. This was through a goal by Dennis Violet, one of those injured in the crash. In the first half, the British team were making rings round the Yugoslavs, and they scored their second thanks to Bobby Charlton, another of the injured. This is how all would like to remember the boys of this great team playing typically fine football. Football grounds throughout the country flew flags at half-mast, and football fans wore tokens of mourning. Players, black armbands, tributes to the men of Manchester, sports writers, and all who died.
I'd been playing in Europe for a long time, more than anyone else in the club at the time. Pre-Munich, before the crash, of course, and so I had something else to play for. You know, those boys who died in the crash, I had felt the responsibility. And I really felt that responsibility. It wasn't bull, you know, I really felt that we should win this. And this was our only chance, you know. And to be given this opportunity, you know, to win, to get through, beat Madrid in Madrid, and to get to the final in Wembley, I felt that this is it. This is, you know, God's been good to us here, you know. And yes, I felt a lot of responsibility.
I think that before the accident, we were just Manchester United, a team from Manchester, no great affiliation to the rest of the country. But I think after the accident, the club meant something really to everybody in the country.
The headlines called them the Busby Babes. It was a trite label, and Matt Busby detested it. For the team of Duncan Edwards, Roger Byrne, Tommy Taylor and the rest was a side of capable, gifted young men, and at the final reckoning, 8 of them perished at Munich.
They were all friends of mine, and I can see them now. I see it every day. I never forget their names or their faces. They're clear. In fact, they get clearer every day. You know, no. I don't think there's nothing sad or morose about it now. You know, it's just great that we sort of did justice to their memory.
The feeling we had was obviously we wanted to win it for the boss. As you go back to obviously with the Munich lads, the tragedy and everything, and I don't think we'd be telling the truth. That was paramount. We wanted to win it for the boss.
I didn't realise how close it was to the Munich events and so on. And as I look back, I wasn't apprehensive. I have to admit that. I think people like Bobby and Shea were apprehensive. I think I was lucky. I think, in fact, all 11 of us were lucky to be the 11 players to represent Manchester United, not just for ourselves and for the club, but for players that had gone before, for the management, and for the people who did so much work at the club.
When you think that Sir Matt had been in an air crash only 10 years before, where they had lost half of the team, and that was 10 years later on, he'd won the tournament, which he'd always set his heart on. It was the most magnificent night for the fans, for Manchester United, and also, of course, for Sir Matt.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen him nervous, but he was a little bit, you know, and obviously very emotional for him. I mean, it was a special occasion, and I would think before, during, and after the game, his mind was probably wandering back to, you know, the lads that had nearly done it for him.
United had taken the first steps to Wembley with comfort and style. Hibernians of Malta were overwhelmed by 4 goals at Old Trafford, where the tie was effectively decided. The second round was much tighter, but after a goalless draw in Sarajevo, they moved on to a narrow and slightly nervous success at home. The quarter-final against Górnik of Poland was even closer, but their 2-goal lead from the first leg ensured their survival. The real test was now at hand.
Manchester United versus Real Madrid, 2 of the most successful and highly respected teams in the football world today, meeting in the first leg of the European Cup semi-final. Manchester United, the English League champions, the mighty Real Madrid, already champions of Spain this season, and 6 times winners of the European Cup. The ground at Old Trafford packed with a capacity crowd of 63,500 people.
15-2, 2-4, 6.
Yes, a good 6, that. It's a very good 6, 78.
We're all right, Alec, here. Champions are going out.
This is so depressing. So depressing.
Sada de crowd. Perez to Piri. Styles. Best to Kid. Good flick, that was by Best. This is Aston. Again the cue at the far post for the cross if he can get it back. Ran well for him. Best! Beauty! A real good goal!
This is where I've landed in my career. Making coffee for that lot.
United were without their joker for the second leg. A knee injury had claimed Dennis Law when he was most desperately needed.
And he said, it clears the windpipe so that so that you can breathe more easily. I'll tell you, for 20 years I used to take a sherry before a match, and then somebody said...
George Best's goal had given them a fragile advantage, but they had also lost David Hurd with a broken leg. And now they faced Real in Madrid, in their own Bernabeu Stadium.
The first half we got slaughtered. I mean, they played great. We got the fact that we were only 3-1 down was a bonus. The goal that we got was an incredible OG anyway.
No one said a word at half time. We just sat there. That's it. Even Sir Matt never said a thing. And then the whistle went for us to go out, and we sort of got up. All of a sudden he said, "Whoa."
Now remember, you're only a goal behind. And all of a sudden, that gave you that little bit of hope. It lifted you. But his timing was superb.
I hadn't thought of that going in, but when he said it, that was the one now I think that gave us the little lift that we needed, just those few words.
We'd been hammered, well and truly, and we really survived just about in touch with them. Obviously 3-2, of course we were in touch. And, you know, that's what he was saying. As bad as we sort of played, really, and as well as they played, the score in the tie was still 3-2.
We'd all forgot about the goal that George had scored at Old Trafford. And I think that really put something into us.
We came out second half, obviously nothing to lose, and then I can't even remember what part of the second half it was, but you know, George went up for something, and the keeper went with him, committed himself, and the ball came over, and it sort of came towards me, and I stuck out something, and I sort of carried on, and it sort of touched me really, all right, and I didn't really know where it had gone. And I sort of carried on around the side of the goal, and I don't know, there was 135, 140,000 people there, and it was as if they'd all stopped talking at once. It was like silence, and I thought, you know, what's happened here? You know, there's something happened, I'm not... And of course the ball was in the back of the net.
When David scored that goal, it was a period in the game when a lull had happened. For the first time, Madrid had dropped back. I mean, they gave us a pounding in the first half, you know, and I thought they'd do the same in the second, and we could possibly lose 5 or 6 goals, you know. But I think they made a tactical mistake, or they decided that that was enough, and they gave us a little bit of space in which to start playing and coming out of defence. Instead of being pressed, we were starting to get a bit of space to play. And George, for the first time, came into the match. And Pat Curran had a throw-in on the right, I remember seeing, and no one seemed to want to move, you know. Anyway, he managed to get the ball to George, and George managed to turn, beat 2 or 3 players, left them in his wake and was away, you know. And he seemed to have no support at all, you know. So I jogged from the back, you know. And I can remember Nobby shouting, the thing, and it still stays in my mind. Nobby shouting, "Where the hell do you think you're going?" You know, and shouted, you know. A little bit more choice language than that, but I went. Of course, I was about 25 yards. Once I got 25 yards out of Nobby's range, that was it. He wouldn't see me. I don't think he ever knew where I'd gone.
Well, Bill was a centre half in the stopper mould, and probably nobody finer in the game.
And it was quite funny. I remember when we scored the equaliser to make it 3, Billy Phillips, who appeared God knows where from.
I was in the box, waiting to see if he did cross it. I was in position, but nobody else was in there. And he looked in his usual way. George looked up he looked up, and he had a second look as if he couldn't believe it. You know, he just sort of looked up again. You know? And he gave me, feinted to drive it into the near post. And the goalkeeper went, the centre back went, and pulled a most beautiful pass for me, just inside, and it left me an easy shot just into the far post, which I did, side-footed into the far post. It was incredible. It was the highlight of my career.
I'd watched Bill Foulkes from sort of early days, and I'd never seen him do anything like that at all. And everybody, when he got near the halfway line, always screamed for him to get back, because he wasn't regarded as the most skillful, fluid player. But he went on, and it must have been a sixth sense. I somehow think that really that run, that competition, that I'm sure somewhere fate was smiling as well.
It was a match that we felt was fated to be ours. After we had the little bit of luck against Real Madrid in the semi-final, I thought, well, we won it now, because somebody's looking after us here.
The lad said, well, let's just play out the last 10 minutes and play for a draw, because I thought if we'd have kept going then we would have probably won the match in Madrid.
I then remember feeling a great deal of pressure, because when you get close to winning something, you then get frightened of losing it.
That fear was gloriously unfounded. As Busby came scrambling from the dugout to greet his players, the great man yielded to the emotions of the evening. There was joy, there was relief, and there were tears. Above all, there was a powerful conviction that Matt Busby's United were moving towards their destiny.
Somehow, when they reached the semi-final against Real Madrid, it was as if it was a round too soon. You know, that was the final, that should have been the final. And Real Madrid had always had the better of the previous games, and although I admired that team, I really thought, you know, this could be it, particularly after that first leg. But they pulled something special out because they were a special team.
When he actually joined Manchester United, it was
25 years later, they retraced their steps.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Cameraman, please. Get in. Get that in. What a sight. Mine looks small. Actually, the reason I've got a big nose is, it's not I've got a big nose, I've got a small face.
Sitting there.
I'll tell you what, it just
No shock result.
There are the jokes, the cracks, the card games that footballers play. But the result which made their reunion possible was delivered on that night in Madrid. United's journey was nearing its close, and Benfica, the champions of Portugal, lay waiting at the end of the road.
Ryan Kidden, happy 19th birthday to him. Shea Brennan, and there is Matt Busby, and how most people in this stadium, and I'm sure in the television audience, are praying for him at this moment. And John Aston, his proud father, is here to watch him today, and Alex Stepney played his first international here last week. Pat Guerin. That is Tony Dunn. Bill Fox, who's played in every European Cup campaign for Manchester United, the only player to have done so.
Sir Matt Busby, 829 on the 8th floor.
Is there a curfew, Ross?
What's a curfew?
Are we allowed out tonight?
In the hotel lobby, the prodigal son has been pacing for 3 hours. For once, United have kept George Best waiting. Now the team is complete.
What number is that, sweetheart? 825. 826. You will be able to.
Mr. Dunn, Mr. Brennan, 814, Mr. Dunn, 827.
Oh, George, I'm fine, thank you. You? How are you, George?
PC, yeah, mate. 3 hours, well, she sat for 3 hours and she decided.
What time did you get here?
We got here at 4 o'clock.
We left Old Trafford at 1:30.
Did you stop?
Last is usual, lads. But as they say, the girl said, you always leave the best till last. Don't say that to best, of course. Who turned up? Amazement. Actually turned up. Be careful what you say.
We've got carry our bags.
Hang on. Gotta get the... Top man. Excuse me, can you put a shandy on this man's... Put it on my boat.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate that.
The memories come crowding in as these middle-aged men revisit their past. The talk chatters on through the afternoon and early evening, and the laughter and stories continue as United sit down to dine.
Okay, you're about that Italian memory. So when I was there, always. No, I don't know, was that?
That's the same story with Paddy when we're in Budapest. Oh, no blooming butter here. Oh, it's alright, I'll get you some butter. Paddy stood up in the middle of the game. Would you like some butter, sir?
He used to wear them. He was a pilot.
Although the side was sprinkled with some of the most famous faces in football, these players retained the common bond of men who had served the same apprenticeship. For this United team represented the ultimate tribute to Matt Busby's managerial genius.
Jersey out.
He's telling us off. He's got us all bedroom about this like playing football. You know, just like that.
You know, you always talk about making the goal.
I've never seen it. Actually, he's never seen the game.
While other managers would flourish their checkbooks, Busby discovered his own men and moulded them in his own ways. 7 of the team which played at Wembley had come through the Old Trafford ranks. Only 4 were signed from outside. Crerran from Celtic, Stepney from Chelsea, Dunn from Shelbourne in Dublin, and Sadler from Maidstone. The total cost was £113,750. And for that smattering of small change, Matt Busby created a team with the style and the spirit to conquer Europe.
I just think if any team can sit down and have 4 players like George, Dennis and Bobby and Shea.
Oh, sorry. I hear that. Did I know Georgie best? Did I play with George the West? He played with me.
There you go. The cameras at you.
Oh, I think
I really struggled.
That's right. That's right.
Then I struggled a lot with Paul's, didn't you?
And obviously I had special, detail of him looking after Eusebio. But we shared it between David Sadler and myself, that if he went very deep, David would take him, so I wouldn't be drawn out of position to cover. And if he came into my zone, then it was me that took him up, which, it was always a great challenge to play against.
I think we all thought we were destined to be the first English side to win it. And looking back, probably overconfident. Because for the 90 minutes we didn't really play too well.
I remember Mario Cluny, he was the playmaker, and it's a strange situation. I remember very early on in the first half he had gone for a ball with me and I'd put the sole of my boot down and he kicked the sole of my boot and he never really was running at the same, and it was accidental, believe me, and he was never really running at the same pace after that. And if you were playing it in the continent, that would be a free kick against you, but the referee didn't give anything and the fellow didn't really play much after that, and he was the outstanding player. Never mind Eusebio, he was their best player, Colino.
With his key, Buddy, get a pair of boots. As long as you got the down for it,
Seen the fast-flowing open football we expected, I think because the defences of both teams know that if you start giving scope to players of the class of Eusebio and Best and Charlton, then my goodness, you're just asking for trouble. So everybody is being marked almost out of sight.
Seems a long way from one end to the other, doesn't it?
Seems bigger than
You're just saying that seems a long way from the centre to the end, doesn't it?
It is, it's a big pitch, isn't it?
Something everybody says about leaving here, and that was still weekend cup finals and that.
Oh, it's still the place.
Yeah.
11. I should have said 11, and you couldn't have gone one more.
Believe
incredible, that, I thought.
Yeah?
Is this with the American football?
Well, I don't know. I think it's with everything. It's with pop concerts and I think the American football, maybe, yeah. Well, I think that, unless there's anything else. And that was the only one that scored in this end.
You flicked. Well, you didn't flick it. You swept it in that end, wasn't it?
The three in extra time.
Brian Kidd scored one off the crossbar and headed it in.
It was a clinic caster box. It was a collector's item now. Showing a young lad. The wing player. It was
a great night, Brian.
I must have enjoyed it, though.
All I can remember was Johnny Aston hitting the ball past the fullback and running.
Oh, he was brilliant. He was the best player on the pitch.
And I mean,
John was great.
His timing, if it went to strike, the fullback must have thought he was having a night.
Well, he was.
He couldn't do anything about it, though.
In fact, there was once in the second half, two of them came. He must have thought, you'll have to come and help me here. And two of them came. And he knocked it past two of them. I won't remember.
It's nice to see everybody, all the old faces again.
And they are old now.
Yeah. Oh, are you? It's only me and you, not changed, eh?
A few things different. Certainly the pitch. Not half as good, is it?
I was marking it.
Remember when you whacked Eusebio for about the 100th time?
No, I never touched Eusebio. He said I was a sportsman. I've been speaking to him.
Well, he was a sportsman himself, was he?
Who?
Eusebio.
I thought he was a gentleman.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
No,
I'm saying that in front of the cameras.
No. We were the last ones to play.
The Oxley Year Show. I remember that.
Sacrifice run. Have you heard that now? That's a new term. I've never heard of it.
See, when the coaches hear that, sacrifice.
No, it's in now, that. Have you ever heard of it?
No, sacrifice run.
Well, that was you, Shay, 25 years ahead of your time.
What's that dummy run?
Was that a sacrificial run? No,
A dummy.
It's good one, isn't it?
Boss wants to go.
Well, the boss wants to go. We've got to go. We've got to go. Let's see, boys. All right. The boss says we've got to go, lads.
So Busby and Best walked from the pitch where their history was made on a fine spring evening, a quarter of a century ago.
Had to make a decision whether to go and attack. Simmer was when he was coming down the middle and release it. A hold. Made the decision and he's released it, and obviously Eusebio has gone right through. It was just one of those things. But talking to Eusebio later, he was very tired, and you don't realise that. I mean, when Wembley slaps you. And years later, as I say, talking to him, he said that when he got there, he was very tired, and he just concentrated on trying to strike it.
Had it been Jimmy Greaves, then United would not have won the European Cup, because Greaves would have come down and, hey, take that. But I could see the Eusebio thought, there's glory written all over the front page of the paper, I'm going to really smash this. And really what he should have done, he should have placed it. I mean, I don't think Steppers knew anything about it. I think he hit him in the chest, if I remember.
I came off my line, realising that, thinking it's going to be a 50-50 chance, but when the Wembley turf, the ball slowed up. I realised when I got to my 6 yard that he's going to get there first. He's going to chip me. I stopped, but Eusebio didn't want to score goals like that. He just nudged it forward, which give me the impetus to sort of stand up to him. He hit this shot, which basically came at me, but I held it. And obviously at the time I didn't realise the importance, but my main thing was to get rid of the ball and let's counter-attack, because there's only 2 or 3 minutes left of the European Cup final. And then he came up and spoke to me in Portuguese with a accolade, I presume.
Well, at the time, I've got to be quite honest and say that I'd never expected anything else. I know it was a situation which you would really have favoured the striker, but I've seen Stepney do it in lesser games so many times in that kind of situations quite successfully that it was just par for the course. I expected Alex Stepney to make that save, and he did.
To win something with the lads that you play with every day and they train with every day is a different feeling altogether, and I find it very difficult to compare them. And I've never ever once said that the World Cup was more important. I never felt that. I think that it was a national thing by the time Man United got to the final of the European Cup. I wouldn't like to separate them, and I wouldn't like to have had a football career without either of them.
66 was absolutely brilliant. It was tremendous, you know, being an Englishman that day. But 68 was equally so, because I was a Manchester boy raised up on them. Watched all the great stars when I was a kid. And I think for Brian Kidd and myself, it was especially emotional because, as I say, local kids, and to go and do it, and for Sir Matt, it was great. It was all the ambitions, what we wanted to do, and how great, as I say, Duncan Edwards, Eddie Coleman, my particular idol. It was great, and those were the memories as well.
The bomber, Shea, still thinks he made it for me. He pushed the ball to Alex and he cleared it. And I think Dave Sadler flicked it on. And there was only one defender, and he came in, I think he tried to do me, and I stuck it through his legs. And once I did that, I was clear, and I made my mind up that I was going to take it past the keeper. And I'd actually decided if I got past the keeper, I was going to take it to the line and stop it and head it in on the goal line. But the silly bugger, the keeper, he got up too quickly and got back too quick, so I just knocked it in. And I can still see him diving and trying to keep it out when it was right in the back of the net. And I realised then how tired I was, because Paddy Crane caught me. And Paddy never caught anybody, so for him to catch me, I realised the extra time that we were all a little bit tired.
Watched the game on the television with some of my friends who came in about 6 o'clock. I think the kick-off was about 8 o'clock at night. They came in about 6 o'clock and brought a crate of McEwens in, so we had a couple of shandies while we were watching the game. Actually, I can't really remember a great deal about the extra time bit. I believe one of the sisters told me that United had won 4-1.